Welcome back to the Unqualified podcast, the podcast where two lifelong fans try to make sense of their teams and usually fail. As always, I'm joined by Brendan.
How are you, sir?
How you doing, buddy?
Doing well.
If you guys are new here, please make sure to follow us on Instagram at the UQ Podcast. Also, you can catch full episodes on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. And today we're bringing back a friend of mine, friend of the show. He's back, Knicks diehard fan, and fresh off surviving the first round of the Eastern Conference playoffs. Chad, how are you doing?
How you guys doing? Thanks for having me back.
Thank you for being back with us. We really appreciate it. You can catch Chad on Instagram at Hookie Date Days, DAYZ. And for those who missed the episode where we previewed the Knicks Hawks, Chad, if you just want to tell the listeners a little bit about that Instagram account and what you and your wife do.
Yeah, just me and my wife love great food, great cocktails, great sights, just essentially just being able to enjoy time together. But just in today's world, it's very hard to match our calendars. So we pick just random weekdays throughout the month to PTO and enjoy happy hours in different spots. And we started just collecting all that information, taking little videos and pictures and sharing it with our friends and giving recommendations. So it's just a great spot to just go get some advice for a date day with your loved one or just to hang out with your friends. But we really love just sharing what we do.
That's awesome. Yeah, I definitely encourage you guys to check it out. It's a really, really cool account. So let's get into it. So before we jump into Knicks-Sixers, let's do a little reset, recap the first round. The Knicks, obviously, they beat the Hawks 4-2. You know, it was 2-1 there, and it was looking a little hairy, a couple of one-point losses, and then you really saw, I think, you got to give a lot of credit to Mike Brown, for the defensive adjustments and just the adjustments they made overall to kind of shut down that Atlanta offense from game 4 forward. Cat becoming that focal point, and obviously Anunoby doing it all very quietly, as you know. Yeah, so what is the pulse right now for you? I'll start with you, Chad, like how you're feeling coming off that series victory against the Hawks.
I love this mini victory lap. I think you said it absolutely right. The moment that you saw the awakening of Cat, them starting to play through Cat and opening up so many offensive pathways. It took a lot of burden off of Brunson, who was having a hard start to the series. Between Cat, OG, and Brunson, they were able to use that flex screen on that side, the left side of the court, and just open up so many different opportunities, whether it be OG going in for the dunk, whether it be opening up pop and shoot for Brunson, or whether it be Cat being able to go one-on-one. They were unable to stop it for 3 games in a row. I'm really excited about Cat waking up, taking some ownership, taking a leadership role in that team, and I think it's going to continue in the second series.
It's crazy how the switch was flipped there. Once they went down 2-1, it was like those last 3 games, it was almost like a different team than you had seen. Brendan, does it change your overall feel for this Knicks team after you saw them go the 3 straight wins there in the series to close it out in really dominant fashion? Or are you still where you're at with them before the series?
Well, I think obviously some things change, right? I think you get a better matchup now with Sixers as opposed to Celtics. If I have to watch Embiid struggle to get up and down the court one more time, it's a little rough
tough
to watch. But I would say this, if we're looking at that series, the way they responded, to your point, adjustments being made, players stepping up. But I don't know if it's all that. Sometimes, right, you just need a little bit of something extra outside of the world of, the game you're playing. And to me, I think, like I told you at the beginning of the week, I think, or maybe even the last show, now that they got some of those Magic City wings in them, I don't know. I mean, they might close this out winning 14 straight, but I don't want to get it too far ahead of myself. But people underestimate the Magic.
Now, as a bitter Nets fan, obviously, I wouldn't call you a Knicks hater, Brendan.
No.
But how do you think Nets Nation would feel if they end up winning the title and it's basically because of what you said, but you basically calling it?
I mean, here's the thing. I think the Nets fan base is a bit in disarray, right? Like we definitely do not own the city. And in the end, I prefer the Nets to move back to Jersey where their true home is. But, I'm going to say within the city, the fan base is just so weak, in my opinion, that I think you will see even more migration of some of those in the city net fans making their way. And I'm not saying they're diehard. I mean, for those who've been watching Brooklyn, the last several years, this has just popped up, right? Knicks have been there. They've been a staple in the city forever. Obviously not winning a title since the 70s. If they're able to do that, pull that off, I mean, that's gonna change some things when it comes to fan base in the city between the Nets and the Knicks. And I'm not, if I had to bet after that, if the Knicks did win the title, it'd probably go Knicks, Liberty, Nets, in my opinion, for basketball in the city.
Okay, all right, that's fair. So let's jump into this now, okay? Knicks-Sixers Eastern Conference Semifinals, Game 1, Monday night, 8 p.m. NBC. So the Sixers, 45-37. We know that they were the 7th seed. Knicks 53-29. So the Sixers obviously coming off that grueling 7-game series with Boston. Kind of a wild series. They come back from being down 3-1. The Knicks obviously a little more rested, like we talked about. Chad, do you feel like this is an advantage for the Knicks, with the rest and because you have a hot Philly team, really? Obviously, 3 in a row. The Knicks have also won 3 in a row, but you could make an argument that obviously with them just playing a couple nights ago, they're coming in as the hotter team. Do you feel like, how do you feel like that's going to play out, in terms of, does it give the Knicks an advantage, you think, having that extra rest?
So I will 100% believe that the Knicks being able to get that rest helps, especially because you saw when they had that little gap of 2 days, they were able to completely restructure how they did their offense. I think it gives them a lot of time to just build off of the cohesion that they built in those last 3 games. I don't think that rhythm is going to take the Sixers too far. And I think that's where Brendan kind of touched on it. Embiid has to survive the series as much as we have to survive him. And I don't believe he has the ability to go another 7-game stretch at full capacity. He just walked out of a series averaging, 28, 9, and 7. I don't think he can do that for another 7 games, especially if Cat has him working on the offensive side. So
Agreed on that one. I mean, just watching yesterday's game, I'm almost 50 at this point. My knees are in way better shape than his. It's not good. That's not good. And, I think that's what it comes down to, right? Because if you look at the Celtics coach post-game yesterday, right, what was the difference in the series? So, when Embiid came back. And, that made all the difference in the world for them. And, again, obviously, if you're getting a healthy Embiid, it'll be a grind this series for both teams. But, to Chad's point, I don't see that happening with Embiid. It's going to be hard on him to go back-to-back series like this and keep the momentum going for the Sixers.
I would agree with that. I think, too, you look at it, obviously, Embiid and Maxey, a lot higher skill level than any 2 players they face with the Hawks. But, I don't know if that kind of championship DNA is in them. You see them get bounced a lot early. This kind of core that the Sixers have, do they have it in them to really, win a series like this? Which I do, we'll get into our predictions later. I do think it's going to be a longer series. But yeah, I question that. And like you said, the health of Embiid is going to be something that is going to be watched heavily in this series. And then obviously we focus now to the big matchup, the main matchup. It's going to be Cat Embiid. I think that's obviously where the series is going to be decided. Cat, super strong performance, like we said, in the Hawks series, especially those final 3 games. Embiid, like you said, he was great too, but physically, is he going to be able to keep up? What do you think about the foul? I'll start with you, Chad. The foul trouble issue. I feel like this could be a factor for both of those big men. Do you think it could play a big factor? Those guys get into foul trouble?
So I definitely think so. I think Cat is probably the one that we look at most, specifically because of the flopping on Embiid's side, plus the fact that the man can't control his long arms. He continues to hook everybody that either defends him or he's defending. He tends to get himself in a lot of trouble and doesn't see what he's doing wrong no matter how much coaching he gets, especially when he gets worked up. My hope is that they run the 2 center floor a lot. They put Mitch out at the same time as Cat and just kind of balance that out when it comes to switching off on Embiid and giving Cat the ability to rest more on that end, but also to keep him out of foul trouble. We'll see how that goes. Obviously, it's going to depend on the flow of the game, especially if they keep on sending Mitch to the line, which again, he did not have a good series from the foul line. So I think a lot of that is going to be a factor, but I do expect to see Embiid at the line a lot. But there is a part of me, especially after 2024, that wonders whether or not the refs are going to allow this to get a little bit more physical than they have in the past. Because I do believe that this is going to be one of those old school 90s grudge matches because there is uh, a pettiness in a New York fan that just wants revenge on what he did to Mitch, all the nut checks that he did to Jalen Brunson. I do think that this is going to be a little bit more physical than the first series.
I love that. I know you would love that too, Brendan. Old school knockdown,
Yeah.
drag him out series.
Yeah, I mean, the question is, I guess, do these players have that in them? I don't know about that, but if I'm Cat, you got to keep him moving. All right. He at the end of the day, he's gonna have the fresher legs. Let the Cat stretch. And like yesterday, still drives me nuts. Embiid made one 3-pointer, but why is Embiid still out there shooting threes? Like, make him run, make him work, keep him moving, wear those legs down. To your point, however it's going to be called in terms of the series, I'm throwing everything at him. I'm making him work. I'm gonna, within, I guess, again, the context of the world we live in, what's a flagrant foul today versus maybe 30 years ago. You can I think take some of that old school approach with like Shaq to a degree. Just keep throwing the bodies at him, keep making him work, keep stretching him on defense. Just tire them legs out. Again, he looked like he was struggling yesterday. I know he took a couple shots in the knees, a couple people fell into him, but also too he couldn't get out of his own way, right? Like when it came to those 2 times that he got hit. Again, just keep working that guy, and you're going to be looking at, I think, as you work your way through games 5, maybe later in the series, it's going to set the Knicks up nicely.
100%.
Yeah, that's going to be something really that is going to be the main focus in terms of what we're going to watch in this series is how much Embiid can handle physically. And you look at the other side of the ball for the Knicks, Jalen Brunson, we saw him get into trouble earlier in the Hawks series, trying to drive the lane and having the defense converge on him and then turning the ball over. If he's not on early in this series, Chad, who do you look to step up to kind of assume that Brunson role? Obviously, we know Cat is going to play a big part, but who's going to kind of take the pressure off him, you think, or should?
So I think it's like a little bit more of a complex answer than we may want for this. But a lot of the energy shift happened when you put Jose on the court. And I feel like him coming in, giving them a shot of adrenaline, and then putting Brunson back in after him, or having them on the court at the same exact time, start to spread the floor. That same flex screen that I was talking about, Cat kind of setting up at the key, also worked with Jose. So I do think that he is been a shot of energy that the Knicks needed. But with that being said, I also believe that OG's role is going to be extremely important. Again, him being consistently OG as he has been, I think is going to help a lot. So I look forward to seeing his productivity as well.
OG was Chad's X factor in the Knicks Hawks series. And
Yeah.
I would say it came to fruition. I would say he was on the money there. I think mine was Mitchell Robinson. He had a positive impact, but maybe not as much of as an X factor as I would have thought. I think, I agree with you. OG is going to be big. I think, what we saw from McHale, Brendan, we saw some stuff from McHale later in the series against the Hawks that was like, holy crap, like, where was this? And I know you talked about it before with the Nets, like, you would see him, have these bursts and like then disappear. But I think the Knicks are really going to need him to be more the guy that he was in these last few games.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, again, it's nothing that I'm not unfamiliar with there with Mikhail. But again, thank you for those picks. I'm sure it's going to help in our long, forever rebuild process. And don't you tell me, should the Nets, don't ask the question, the Nets and Kevin Durant, I never want. No more. We're good. Nah, look, to me, it's hard with Mikhail because he can be inconsistent. To me, I look at OG, right? He, came from a place where he had to grind and build up his career. And then ultimately, I think, finds himself in a good spot with the Knicks that, he can show off that skill set. Just like again, Chad called it in the first series. I think that's your third most important player as you look at the context of the Knicks and who you're going to have to lean on in those lean moments when you're struggling, or if Mikhail's struggling to make shots. That's going to be your guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And like Chad said, OG basically making his presence felt everywhere, defensively on the boards, from the outside, driving into the hoop. We need him to be the guy that he was against the Hawks. Going back to the defense now, obviously Tyrese Maxey is a problem. He is a guy who, his speed, his burst to the net, like he can just split the defense there and get to the hoop. I've been thinking about this, and I'll start with you, Chad. Like, how do you see the Knicks kind of defending him? You think it's going to be a combination of guys? Do you think they stick one guy on him to begin with and kind of see how it goes?
Bridges was going to be my answer, specifically because the way that it played out in the first series, even though he did show some signs of life, which made me really happy later on in the series after he got going, his defensive prowess never left. He was able to do that from game 1 all the way through game 6. And I feel like they're going to need him on that end to make sure that he's defending the wing, because we talk about Embiid. We've spent a lot of this time talking about Embiid, but to me, Embiid is manageable. Maxey looks like beautiful chaos sometimes. He just goes out there and produce, whether it be Clarkson. But I do think that they are going to throw a couple of different looks at him to make sure he never gets comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you can't forget about Paul George, too. And you talk about the Knicks role players. I mean, the Sixers have their own as well, and they have a decent bench, and they have guys that can come in and contribute. It's going to be interesting. I think you could see kind of a chess match here between the coaches and kind of, with the matchups and all that. So who worries you more? I know you kind of touched upon it, but does Embiid worry you more or Maxey, Brendan?
Oh, that was for me.
No,
So,
I'm just throwing.
Okay. I think it just really depends on who you get in terms of Embiid, right? Like if Embiid is healthy enough, to me, that's what is the important part, right? Like he has to be a fully participant on the floor. Then I think the dynamics change a little bit. So then, I'm sure each one is going to have their nights. I mean, just watching, Maxey a little bit during yesterday's game, you can see how dangerous he can be in terms of driving that team forward.
Let me throw this out there, Chad.
Yeah.
What, as a diehard Knicks fan, as a guy who's seen, in his lifetime, pretty much every playoff matchup, the highs, the lows, the heartbreak.
A lot of the lows, a lot of the heartbreaks.
Going into this series, okay, you got a 7 seed in the Sixers. The Knicks, on paper, we know they're the better team. I know the majority of the pundits are picking the Knicks to win the series.
Yeah.
But putting on your rational fan cap, which I know you have on right now, well, maybe not the rational one, but what scares you most about this series? What kind of might keep you up tonight going into game 1 tomorrow, thinking about this matchup on paper?
One player that you touched on and 2 players that we haven't touched on, Paul George and what he can do on both sides of the court. And I think that's the biggest part. He is a great 2-way player. And then the defense of Edgecombe and Oubre. Like I feel like those guys can rattle our offensive output on their best days. They're just great defenders. Edgecombe has been coming in an offensive star as well. We saw in the first series doing extremely well. But in Madison Square Garden this season alone, he's averaging like 24 points a game and has been able to shut Jalen Brunson down to like 8 of 24. I think they're going to look at putting him on him as much as possible. He's a young boy under 20 years old and just got legs for days that's willing to just chase that man around the court. And he's going to make Jalen Brunson work for it. So that's one part that worries me. And then the other one is Oubre. He is a defensive monster. And then I do worry about the same behavior of Embiid that we've seen in the past. He is willing to do anything to win, including injure players. I think he's a dirty player. I think he's going to get some hit flagrants, and he usually gets the technical call instead of them. So I look to see whether or not those things come to fruition. But again, looking at 2024 as an example, even when we got through that series, we were not the same team entering the next series. So it's about staying healthy through this series so we can enter the Eastern Conference Finals healthy. And I worry about that most. I agree with the pundits. I think that we're going to take this, but how we take this and how we end up walking out of it is important to me as well.
I didn't see that coming. I didn't see you thinking the Knicks were going to advance. I'm surprised.
Now, Brendan, as an independent observer of basketball in this series, obviously, with no dog in the fight.
I mean, like, it's literally maybe the two worst teams for me to see going against each other. This would be like a
True.
Yankees-Phillies type of series where, I'm watching this and I'm like, God, good thing I'm friends with you. Otherwise, I'd be so checked out.
Should Chad and I and the rest of Knicks Nation be concerned in any way going into this series?
It's the playoffs. There's going to be always some level of fear, right? There's always, some angst when you're a fan of a team. And yeah, is if you get the best of Embiid in this series, sure, it could be one of those, come down to like yesterday, game seven, and maybe your team doesn't show up. Maybe you decide you're going to shoot like 53s and barely make any. Again, still kills me with basketball these days. Like, why are we just chucking up threes and not making them, right? We can still, throw the ball in the post and grind our points out. But sure, Magic did it too.
You're right.
But again, I think if I'm a Knicks fan, after I seen what happened yesterday, I'm looking around and be like, okay, yeah, now I can buy into what you two were saying a couple weeks ago of, kind of like a finals or, the season is a bust. I think this is as nicely lined up for your team. Again, Sixers won't be an easy matchup. Again, I think you got to grind and be down to weaken the rest of the team. But this is setting up really nice for your Knicks. So if I was in your position, I'd be feeling pretty damn good. I go back a few years. I still got that vision of Kevin Durant towing the line, could have knocked out the Bucks and could have seen our way, making our way to a NBA title. But these things didn't work out like that, my friend.
The pain, man, the pain of those moments, man. I feel you. I feel you, buddy. The what ifs. It's tough, but I'll say this, and I agree with you. I think a couple of things. Cat needs to stay out of foul trouble. That's going to be huge. I think, and then secondly, limit the impact of Maxey in terms of being able to dish and drive the lane. And then obviously the Knicks bench, we've talked about it. That's something that's been huge for them all season. And it surprised me a little bit, Chad, like in the series against the Hawks, they didn't fully use all those guys on the bench that they had been using. I feel like you're gonna need it in this series a little bit more. Did it surprise you at all?
It definitely did. Like you
Yeah.
noticed that you went to their same go-tos. You had Jose, you had Clarkson come out, you had Deuce come out, and then they kind of just limited, and Mitch, of course. And besides that, they never went deeper into their bag. It worries me because you didn't get them into the rhythm that they could have had if you'd gotten some use out of them. But at the same time, I do think, to your point, they are going to need them. They're going to need to go, I think, at least 11 deep to just make sure that they're keeping their legs fresh, keeping everybody fresh, reserving minutes, spreading out the floor, giving the Sixers different looks, because they're definitely going to do it to us. The way that the point that you just made, Brendan, about living at the 3-point line, they really just killed the Celtics on the defensive end by pushing them out to the 3-point line and just having them die by that. They shut them down to 3 games in a row at either 100 or less points, and I feel like if we don't give them different looks, they're going to do the same thing. They could do the same thing to us.
Yeah,
No.
It was painful to watch that yesterday. It just, as a fan, throw up about, I think it was maybe 48 threes, and they hit 27%.
Yeah.
And obviously, as you're coming down the stretch, again, it just is a different era, and that's part of my own personal struggle. So I'll work through my stuff. I want to see kind of like a turn back, the clock, where the NFL is going 3 tight ends now and going with that 13 look. So why can't we make that turn back with NBA? That'd be so nice.
Everything's cyclical, pal. It is.
I know.
Fashion,
Yeah, it truly is.
sports, music. I just feel like it's all cyclical and things will come back around a little bit. So there's hope, buddy. Keep your head up.
I mean, a big man just dominating like in the 80s, 90s. A normal batting order in baseball. I don't know what they do these days. The analytics side is killing me.
I know.
I struggle with this, Chad.
No,
Yeah.
man, take 2 logo shots every single game. Really hurts my mind.
It's crazy. It's nuts. Yeah, it's wild, man. It really is. Let's talk about something before we get into our predictions for this series. The Knicks fan, we travel. We do travel. And you saw it in the Hawks series. Now, I saw something online a few hours ago that Knicks fans trying to purchase tickets. I don't know if it was Ticketmaster or StubHub. They are being blacked out. They are not letting them. If you don't have a Philly zip code in your billing address, you are not able to purchase tickets to the game. And that's wild.
A solid move.
I mean, I give him credit,
I like
right? I
this.
give him credit. You saw Embiid come out yesterday and talk about it. Philly fans trying to sell their tickets. He's like, I got you if you need money, which is, that was pretty funny. But yeah, that's going to be an interesting factor because we saw the Knicks' presence in Atlanta. When this series shifts back to Philly for games 3 and 4, I wonder what the presence is going to be like. It's going to be interesting.
I mean, we saw this in Detroit last year, and Josh Hart said it today in beautiful New York fashion. Everybody has a price. I think you will see New York deep in Philadelphia. I think you'll see them loud. I think you'll see them proud. I think it will be. You'll hear dudes every single time McBride shoots a shot. I think we're going to be in the house whether they like it or not.
That's interesting,
like
though,
it.
right? Like you look at the Flyers, Eagles, Phillies games, and now with some of the Phillies games, we'll get baseball a little bit different, especially not postseason where you see some of the fan base travel down, and we'll get our section. You see the orange T-shirts in the stadium, but for the most part, when it comes to postseason, it's Philly anything all the way. It's interesting that is even a concern from. I mean, right? Isn't that a little wild though?
Yeah, but to your point, it's weird. It's weird to see towns like New York, Boston, Philly, like you said, you don't normally see that other teams invading their home arenas and stadiums. But it's going to be interesting. I gotta say, I think the winner of this series will go to the finals. I'm going to put it out there as a bold take. I don't know how bold it is, but I do not believe in the Cavs. But I don't believe in the Cavs or the Raptors, regardless of who comes out of that series. I just don't feel like I just don't feel confident in them in terms of the pedigree and the experience to be able to go and win a 7-game series against either the Knicks or the Sixers.
Here's a good thing. Kawhi or more of Kyrie, LeBron, those guys won't be walking through the doors.
Right.
If you're the Knicks, facing one of those two teams. So that's not too bad.
Is it me, Chad? I don't know. Like the Cavs, they win a lot of games. They're good. I don't know. I don't feel it. I don't feel it with them.
They never live up to their numbers.
Yeah.
Their stat line is very different than what you see, especially in playoff basketball, and it doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, and Brendan's probably going to feel this. It does make sense to me when James Harden's on your team.
Does it? I mean, is James a winner? I mean, that's a good question. He's not.
He's not that guy.
He's such a mercenary, man. He just comes in and he'll put up his numbers, but can you count on him in crunch time? Yeah, I know.
I mean, it's a different. Everybody's a different breed in the playoffs, and he's not the playoff mercenary. Now, I think to a degree, obviously, if we go back to those Nets days, I mean, KD has it in him, but for whatever, that locker room was so ugly, and it's just, again, no continuity between the three we had there. And I think anywhere you go, for the most part, I think James sticks out the most as far as in that grouping where challenges kind of follow him. I mean, the other two have rings from at least that net grouping. There's the one that doesn't, and still won't have one after this year.
All right, guys, it's time for predictions. I'm going to start out with the Independent Basketball Observer. How do you see this series going? Who wins it? How many games?
Now, see,
don't worry about hurting our feelings either.
See, this is a little bit of conflict for me. Okay,
just take off any fan hat. Just basketball, independent.
Here's the thing. What I'm hoping for now is, because I think I got your commitment. It sounds like I have to be rooting for the Knicks if we're going to make it to Magic City. And I just want to call it because they got the wings in them. They have not lost. I watched Embiid limp up and down that floor.
So taking the wings out of it, you're still...
I'm going to
forget about the wings.
No. I'm committed to a sweep now. I'm all in. I can say the Knicks are going to win the series, but now I'm hoping for a sweep. So.
Wow. Are you saying it's going to be a sweep?
I'm saying it's going to be a sweep.
Is that your prediction? Wow.
When I was sitting there the other day, I got bored watching the Knicks beat down the Hawks so bad. I went over the hockey, and I'm scrolling scores, and I'm like, is it really 72-22?
Have you guys ever seen anything like that? I can't remember anything like that.
I was flabbergasted. My guy was flabbergasted.
It was almost like, I know we were both excited and happy, but it was almost like a shock too.
It was a weird feeling because I don't think you usually get that happy during playoff season for the Knicks. It was worrisome because I'm like, can we do some singular rollover points into
save a few points? Yes.
Now, if I'm a Knicks fan at this point, the way it's laid out for you, I can see, and I think what I would like to see is like that rematch of going back to the '90s Spurs Knicks. That to me would be a good
Oh
finals.
man.
Again, I can't get into OKC. I'll be honest, I just can't do it. There is nothing that like I watch that team and yes, they're great, but yeah, if I had my choice, the Spurs Knicks, I think at this point, and I'm riding the wings.
So the
That's
next,
that's what I believe.
so
That's your grimace.
when we preview the Eastern Conference Finals, this guy's going to be in a Knicks jersey, Knicks hat, full gear.
No, no,
I love it. Okay, so you're saying Knicks in 4. That's your
Knicks
final.
in 4.
Okay, Chad.
I am
I see the confidence, Chad.
no.
It's rubbing off on him.
My mind just became a 14-year-old boy crying in my living room when you talked about New York versus the Spurs, and that's the series that
Ah,
PTSD was made of.
that was
I got
tough.
nervous for a second. I thought you were gonna go like when you said my mind. I heard the R. Kelly song going. I was like,
My body.
my body.
I got it.
Oh, yo, he's gonna get you a sponsorship.
That's.
Hey, if that
I'll be flying
happens,
the.
say
I'll
it
be
all you
like I
want.
have the Magic City banner behind me.
You said you wanted him to decorate,
Yeah,
Yeah, put that shelf together, man. Come on.
slowly coming along, my friend. Came in 1,000 pieces. Give me a break.
but my prediction. I wish I was as confident as Brendan on this. Maybe it's because I don't have the Lou Will's lemon pepper, but I am going to say Knicks in 5. I do believe that they are going to get one on us, but I do believe that we will overwhelm them and we'll get it done.
I like it. I like it. All right, guys. My prediction is the Knicks are going to win in 7. I know. I know. I really do believe. I feel like this is going to be like we talked about. It's going to be an old school knockdown, drag them out. These series, man. This is going to be a battle. Like you have superstars all over the court. New York and Philly. I feel like the Sixers are better than a 7 seed. Okay, I'll say it like that. Like I feel like yeah, we're gonna get our money's worth. Okay, but the Knicks with that home court advantage in Game 7, that's going to be pivotal. So I feel like they're going to win it, and obviously, hopefully, we'll be able to preview the Eastern Conference Finals. That'll be great if we're all back together. But I just feel like there's always in a team's journey to that title, there's always that moment, that game, that series where it tests their will, and I could see it happening here. But I think the Knicks will come out 4 games to 3, 7 games down to the wire. Listen, I hope I'm wrong. I hope it's Knicks in 4, man, or 5.
Yeah.
I'll
Well,
take
at
that.
least this time we all picked something different. I think we were all like 5 games left for the last series. Look, I get it. I've known you for a long time. I know you've only seen heartbreak with your teams. So I get it. I
Yes.
get it. And that's where I think a little bit of your 7 game prediction is coming from.
Yeah.
Um,
At least, Chad. You've got a couple Giants Super Bowls. You've got a Yankees World Series. A couple. Well, a couple. Yeah, you remember those '90s teams. I'm not diminishing anything here because I know how much the Knicks mean to you. But yeah, Brendan's right. It's been a tough road for me. It's been rough
yeah.
with the
So his
Mets and the
confidence is
Jets.
not quite there.
No.
What I
Yeah,
think this,
but
what I think it is, my worry actually, like it's funny because the way things just shook out with the first round, where I would be nervous as a fan if I was a fan of the Knicks is that these 2 series go very well, the upcoming, and like you walk into that finals and you're just not ready for the moment. That would be the one spot that I would panic a little bit if I've seen that too with I think we all have seen it with our teams at some point. You kind of get to that moment and just you're not ready for what the other team is going to bring, and it's set because it sets up well. I think it sets up for potentially right that OKC San Antonio matchup, which could go 7 games. Let them run
right.
themselves up and down the court. But we are here. We're still only second round. I think it's okay to be a little bit confident. If you're a Knicks fan, I think again this couldn't set up any better for you as you go forward. So yeah, well, I'm going to stick 4 games. I feel good about it.
Chad, tell me if you agree with me. Based on the last few years, and I think we talked about it last time when we previewed the Hawks series, sometimes you need to lose so you can win. to be a champion. And the Knicks have paid their dues. They've had some tough losses in the postseason. Like
50 plus years paying dues.
I would feel confident if this went to a game 7, based on the experience, based on, the attrition that this team's been through these last few years, like bring it, like let's go. But to Brendan's point, I think it would be good. It would be good for them going forward. Listen, I'll be happy if I'm wrong. I don't want a 7-game series, but if it does happen, like I think that the team has what it takes to overcome and win the series.
And I do think, especially with this lineup, especially having home court advantage, if it were to go to Game 7, which God hope it doesn't, but if it goes to Game 7, I do think that the last 2 years of playoff experience in particular have taught us how to come back, taught us how to hit hard, and taught us not to take Madison Square Garden for granted. So with that being said, if it were to go there, yes, I'm extremely confident, but I do feel that we can get it done if we hit hard in Game 1. I think tomorrow is going to set what path the Knicks are going to be on. If we hit them hard tomorrow, if it is an uncontested, domination like we saw in Game 6 in the first series, maybe not as historic as that, but something somewhat of a gun punch like that, I do think that we are going to have a quicker series than you expect.
And let's be honest, this team has played in that first series. If you look at the total minutes, they were in the lead, like for most of the majority of that series. They had the lead. They lost a couple of 1-point games, and it's going to be interesting to see if and when, I believe they will get punched in the mouth. We talked about it last time, get punched in the mouth. Yeah. When they do get punched in the mouth by the Sixers and they go on a run, maybe they take a game, how will the Knicks respond? I want to see how we're going to respond. I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be positive.
And I think kind of going back to our conversation last time, when they get punched in the mouth, how does Cat respond? And we saw how he responded. And I was surprised, but also impressed. So if he's going to do it again, well, there's not a better time than against Embiid.
Hey, maybe if one of these games we can hit up Celebrity Row. You down, Brendan?
I mean, which celebrities are we talking about?
I
might check my Cash App balance.
Man, those prices are insane.
Oh, yeah.
It is crazy. I think it's big that they have the home court advantage. Guys, it's been a pleasure, as always. I hope we can all get together for the Eastern Conference Finals to preview that. And Chad, thanks for joining us again, man. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate you guys.
Awesome.
If you guys aren't following us on Instagram, make sure you follow us at the UQ Podcast. Check out Chad at Hooky Date Days, DAYZ on Instagram. And we'll catch you next time, guys. Thanks for joining us on the Unqualified Podcast. See you later.